I will now talk you through the information regarding Step 3 of the VV program, which is word imagining. The goal of this level of visualizing verbalizing is to visualize and verbalize and recall the smallest unit of language, a word. There are 5 different elements or 5 word types that can be used when practicing at a word level. The essential ones are word to picture imagining, personal images, and known nouns. There are 2 others that are optional. They are object imagining and fantasy imagining. The basic structure of word imagining is the same no matter what type you're working on, be it known noun or a personal image. So the basic structure is the clinician says a word. The client then visualizes and verbalizes the image that's in their mind for that word as they go pointing to each of the structure words. The clinician will then ask contrasting and choice questions to make sure that they're fine-tuning their image, and then the clinician just does a summary. Your words made me picture, and then summarize the information. The clinician then has a turn. So the client listens, the clinician verbalizes. The clinician has a word, they create an image. The client is then asked to recall that image. The clinician will ask contrasting questions to make sure that the client understood and is recalling the image, not just paraphrasing what the clinician has said. The clinician might then ask comprehension questions to check they've understood. However, these comprehension questions are at a surface level and are based on our structure words. So you might point to the structure words and say, where did you imagine me to be? What was I doing? What colours do you remember? Those sort of questions. So the first type of word that we can imagine is called word to picture imagining, and this is a stepping stone to get us into the use of words. This is an essential step. So the clinician says a word and then shows the client a picture. Let's use the word cat. So the clinician and the client study this picture together, and then we're going to turn it over. So this immediate form of visual recall delay helps clients to develop that visual representation, that they can no longer see the object or the picture. Just like when they hear a word, they can't actually see a picture, but they can imagine it in their mind. So we're taking this picture away so the client understands that we're now no longer seeing things, but we can still have a picture in our mind. The client verbalizes their image, touching the structure words as they go. As you go, or as the client goes, the clinician will recast and ask clarifying and choice questions. For example, your words help me picture one orange cat with 3 stripes. However, I can't imagine what colour the stripes are. Can you tell me? This is a great strategy to get clients into the habit of doing. Recasting, repeating information, asking clarifying questions. These are great assertiveness strategies. So when the verbal description is complete, then the clinician and the client will go through together, checking off the structure words. We're still using these structure words quite readily. We want to make sure that all important details have been included. Not every image requires all 12 structure words. We want to make sure that the client is not just recalling the picture, but they're actually creating an image. The second type of word that we can imagine at this level is a personal image. So this might be a pet or someone's bedroom or their favourite toy. So the client and the clinician will create and recall these images together using our structure words. This type of recall really focuses on the client's ability to visually recall and verbalize. They have lots of experiences with their pet or with their bedroom or with their favourite toy. So they're using their known personal experiences and these known objects that they have many, many images for. So we're really focusing on fine-tuning this idea of we can't see our pet right now. Our pet's not in the room, but we can describe it with such detail that the clinician can then have the same picture in their mind, because the client can imagine what they're doing and the sounds and the background information. So it's typically it's an easy image to develop. If a client is having difficulty moving from pictures to words, we recommend using object imagining. So this is an optional step if clients are having difficulty moving to this next stage from pictures to words. In this situation, we get a range of objects, or we look at things around the room that can either be covered or packed away. Again, we're developing the skill of moving from here is something I can see and describe using my structure words. Now I'm going to take it away. I can't see it anymore, but I can make a picture in my mind. I can remember it using my mind, not my eyes. Using these real objects again help to bridge that gap between the idea of here is a picture we've described. We can no longer see this picture. Just like the word cat, I understand the meaning of the word cat and I can create a wonderful image about it. This will help me recall the information, which then makes it easier to respond to comprehension questions and develop those skills of auditory receptive language skills. Another step that we can use that's an essential step, so remember there's 3 essential steps going from picture to word, using known nouns and using personal nouns. So I'll do it in order. Picture to word, personal images, and then known nouns are our 3 essential steps that we do at a word level. So known nouns are words that are specific, that can be really easily imagined. There's lots of really consistent images in our mind, like a clown or a Christmas tree, a turtle or a toothbrush or school or shoes. These are things that are known to our clients. The clinician again presents a word, Christmas tree. The client then creates their image. The clinician will ask contrasting and choice questions. We'll check through the structure words together to make sure all the details are included. The clinician will then give a summary of the picture she has in her mind. Your words made me picture. Summarize the information. And then we want to make sure we're checking that the client is actually creating an image, not just describing what they maybe have done when they went to the zoo or when they went to see a turtle. Our image needs to focus on the word turtle. Okay. And the last one, the 5th word type, is a fantasy image. Now this is also an optional image or an optional type of word to imagine. Fantasy images can be complex, so I don't recommend doing fantasy images with clients who are finding the VV program difficult. If a client tends to get off track or focuses too much on the background information and is not getting to the main idea, they probably wouldn't benefit from this step. This step is great for stronger VV clients. So recalling a fantasy image is more difficult because it's not as logical, but it really taps into that visual recall because you can't imagine going to the beach, building a sandcastle, swimming in the ocean. That's a logical sequence of events for the word beach. However, for the word car, there's a logical sequence of events that we want our clients to develop and use these logical images. But a fantasy image is different. It's funny or it's humorous. So for example, for the word car, the clinician might say, I imagine a small purple car driving on a road. Then a propeller pops out of the top of the car and the car begins to fly into the sky. This is more complex, but an interesting level to develop those ideas that you can't recall that information just verbatim or hearing the words. Hopefully you need to use all those lovely structure words to help get a really clear picture, and you no longer just hear the words, but you imagine this purple car with a propeller popping out and flying through the blue sky.